Hey everyone, welcome to New Slang. I'm music journalist Thomas Mooney, and this is episode 139, where I'm joined by country singer-songwriter Ward Davis. I caught up with Ward earlier this week to talk about his new album, Black Cats and Crows, which is officially out tomorrow, Friday, November 20th. As Ward says, he's been recording this record for a good long while, a few years now, but with the way 2020 ended up, he was able to get it finished earlier this year. One of the things that really pushes this record and that Ward has spoken about before and what we talk about during this interview is this concept of residual darkness. How one taps into the sadder, darker moments of the past to write a song. A lot of these songs are about these down and out moments from the recent past where Ward is definitely moved past them, but how you're able to tap into those moments and write a song, get that darkness, that sad sinking feeling again. As we talk about, when you're far enough away from it, you're able to get so much valued perspective. It's kind of like carrying a lighter in your pocket. In the wrong hands, that residual darkness, it can just burn the whole house down. But if you handle it properly, it can serve, just endless purposes. And in this case, Ward has been pretty solid at holding that lighter. We talk about some of the specifics in some of these songs like Black Cats and Crows and Colorado, for instance. Songwriting in general, I think one of the cooler things is when an experienced songwriter such as Ward talks about some of that trial and error that comes along with the craft, how you don't just wake up writing great songs, how it kind of takes patience and hard work and a little bit of luck and talent all mixed together to get to a spot where you're able to actually write great songs. Anyway, I won't spoil all of that during this intro. Today's presenting sponsor is Desert Door Texas Sotol. If you know anything about me, it's probably that I'm from the heart of West Texas and absolutely love everything about West Texas. And that's really why I love Desert Door so much. You may be asking yourself what exactly Sotol is. Well, it's a premium spirit that's similar to a tequila or a mezcal, but for my money, it's a little bit more refined and smooth. There's a sweetness and faint hints of vanilla and citrus, and it's also as versatile as your garden variety vodka. At its core, Desert Door is authentically West Texas. They go out and harvest Sotol plants from the wild and bring them back to their distillery over in Driftwood, Texas. So next time you're at your local liquor store, get a bottle of Desert Door. For more info, check this episode's show notes. If this is your first time listening to New Slang, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go check out our Patreon and our merch store. All the links are in these show notes for easy access. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get on into the interview. Here is Ward Davis. Let's just start off with the obvious. I mean, you have a record coming out the end of the week.
Friday.
Yeah, it's I what I always find so amazing is, like that time, I guess, like between when you're finished recording the record and mixing it and all that kind of stuff, and now probably seems like forever.
Yeah,
and then finally you get the moment.
Yeah, for sure, man. I started recording this thing about 4 years ago. So, like, I thought I was done 2 years ago, and then, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of people, doing things that I don't do. The promotion and the the publicists and all that stuff. Like I write songs and I record songs and I play songs. And I let the people with brains use them. But yeah, it took about 4 years and we finished recording it. Actually there's a song on there called Threads that we, recorded probably end of May. So we've been on a hustle to get it done, but it's finally done, man. And now all I got to do is make another one.
Yeah, it's what I find so strange, or not strange, but interesting about all that is like, it's, I guess, all of that energy put into making the record, and
Yeah.
By the time it's ready, you've already been writing new songs, and you're like kind of already moved on in a way.
Yeah, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of these songs
Yeah.
already. Yeah.
Well, this ties to a quote that I read in the press release that I wanted to touch on because I feel like this is exactly what we're talking about here. And what you're talking about is like, I'll just read the quote. I had just come out of a dark time in my life, and there was this residual darkness in me. And so, what I think what I've gotten so much out of that is that you are moved on from that point, or you've moved on from these songs. And it doesn't mean that they're bad songs or that you don't relate to them anymore or anything like that. But I love like the way you've put them in perspective as far as like you've moved on, but like you have that residual darkness.
Yeah, man, dude, I'm like really, I don't know. I'm really big on, we're the human factor, I guess. Like, I don't think anybody is really, immune to just having, things not go the way they want, and even, we set into everything with great intentions. I mean, sometimes we don't, but it just seldom does everything work out exactly like we want it to. And, we dig a lot of our own holes, but, man, there's something in the last 5, 6 years changed in me where I just, like, I don't think it's like a terrible thing to be vulnerable. I don't think it's a terrible thing I mean, you can go through dark times, but man, when you get through them, you can look back and you can, uh, recognize them for what they are. I mean, it's all just, I mean, you learn from if it doesn't kill you, you learn from it. If you don't learn from it, then, what's the point? But,
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I like to think we go through everything for a reason, and you know, it's easy for me to think that because I'll go through, music has always been my own therapy and my outlet. So like I can go through a really rough time in life and write a song about it and go, oh, well, hey, look, well, I got something good came of that. But it's really, the like Black Cats and Crows is, I wasn't in a bad place when I wrote it, but it's easy to go back in your mind to that bad place and that those hard times and those dark times. And man, if it wasn't for those, there wouldn't be good times. Like if you don't know the difference. So, yeah, I draw a lot of uh, from the dark times, but generally when I write all this dark, depressing shit, it boils down to, I'm sorry about bad words. Sometimes they come out. But I draw a lot from that, but generally when I'm writing, I'm in a pretty good headspace, so, not always, but, yeah, I mean, it's just, there is that leftover, and it's good to get it out, and it's good to show it to people because everybody goes through it, and it's good to let them see that they're not the only ones.
Yeah, like to me what it is. It's like obviously like any kind of creative artistic expression can be cathartic and can be therapeutic and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, what I gather a lot from a lot of songwriters who, when you're going back and tapping into a bad place, a bad time, what's so great about what they're writing in the present is that perspective. When you get far enough away from something, typically you have that perspective of understanding of like what went wrong, or like
Yes.
if you had fault in it, or all of that kind of stuff. So it's interesting how a lot of songwriters, they you tap into those bad times, but then it's during something that's usually a clear and a clear headspace.
Yeah, man, and it is that perspective. Two words that I use when people ask me about writing songs. The two words are perspective and empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are the two most important parts of songwriting. Like, I can only know personally what I go through myself. Like, I can only know those feelings, but I can look at somebody who's going through someone or something similar, maybe not the exact same thing, and say, man, I kind of know how that feels. Like, I know how that feels, and maybe they don't know exactly how I feel, but there's a middle there that that translates to everybody, and if you can find that middle where it speaks to where you're speaking to yourself, but it's also speaking to other people, I think that's a really, really special area to get into when you're writing a song.
Yeah, I love empathy. I think like that's like it's one of those underrated or maybe one of those like things that we don't talk enough about is that empathy, because it all ties into being vulnerable enough to get outside your own perspective and get out of your own your own views and your own thoughts, and
Yeah,
take it from someone else, someone
yeah.
else's shoes.
And we, like I think in general, like we all pretty much have the same emotions. I think, anxiety and depression probably, albeit set on by different things in life, it all feels the same. Um, we're, like I said, we're humans, man. We feel all these things together, even though like we get into these spots where we go, oh, nobody understands what I'm going through. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But and the reality is everybody does, and um, I just everybody's going through something, and I think that's important to remember. Yeah, especially when you're writing songs.
Yeah, which obviously, a lot of these songs here, you you've been writing with for a long time. You've been writing with a lot of great other songwriters. A lot of songwriters like Cody Jinks and Tennessee
Mm,
Jet and you know Josh Morningstar and folks like that who I think like Cody is definitely become like a champion of this new revival of this hard country that is really heartfelt, but also hard living, and can be like hard living and vulnerable at the same time. And it feels like a
yeah,
lot of you guys have all kind of like been doing the same thing. And it's one of those like, what is it, like a high tide raises all ships?
yeah, for sure. Man, like Cody. Of course, I lived in Nashville for 15 years trying to, write songs for other people to record.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I met, I started touring, about 5, 6 years ago. I got tired of Nashville and decided I was going to start do my little record, and I was going to start selling it at little shows and sports bars or whatever, whatever I could get really just to make a living. And I met this guy, um, Cody, and I was watching him, man. I paid attention to him, and I was a fan of, I was probably a bigger fan of him as like a person before I was like a big fan of his music, even because I saw that like he was completely unapologetic about what he was doing. Like the music he was making was the music that he felt, and the music that he wasn't going to be. He wasn't trying to fit in. He was just trying to like live in his own skin with what he did. And for a guy that had been in Nashville, having publishers and co-writers saying, "Oh, we have to do it this way," and we're not. It's got to be, we're 3.5 minute song. We need up tempo positive. We got to do what we can to get these songs recorded and get them on the radio and blah blah blah. And like that thinking just never it never got into Cody's head because he never played that game, and I did. And so like when I met him, when we started writing together, like one of the first things that I learned from Cody was like, man, the real is where it's at. Like stop trying to write this song so that everybody understands it. If you write it so you'll understand it, it'll bleed over. People will translate it, and it'll speak to them in a different way. And there's a song, man, just like a perfect example of that. There's a song on my record called Colorado that Cody and I wrote together that he actually released on album a couple of years ago called Lifers.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a line that my ex-wife and I used to go to Colorado on vacation, so that's where this song came from. And there's a line in it where, you know, we used to vacation in this town called Marble, Colorado. It's this tiny, tiny town, Marble. And, you know, I spat the line out. I said, I look back to when we carved our names in marble on that aspen by the cabin where we stayed. And Cody was like, oh, yeah, I love that. I love that. And he wrote it down. And I said, man, we got to change marble. And he said, why would we change marble? And I said, man, nobody's going to know what I'm talking about. Like, it sounds like I'm carving my name in a piece of marble. And he like looked at me just straight face and he said, where did it happen? And I said, marble. And he said, well, then it's fucking marble. And so that's what it is. And that's what it turned. But that's like, I didn't, you know, when you're programmed to do it one way and you're programmed to like try to make it everybody's song as opposed to just making it yours, like that you go in that direction. And that's something I learned from him, man. It's just like, keep it real, keep it honest. People will know when you're full of shit, like they will. And so it's marble.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, obviously like I'm not a songwriter, so I can't necessarily like speak about how, well, I guess what I'm saying is like, there's not necessarily a wrong way to write a song. There's probably a lot better ways to write songs, but I can't necessarily think that there's like a bad way to create a song.
Yeah.
But I think where you come into problems is when you when the ends justify the means. You know what I mean? As far as like you talking about, oh, we have to do it this way because it is gonna like the algorithms tell us to, or the industry at large says like this is the way it's been done. And instead of just being more genuine and true to what you're thinking or what you're trying to get out.
Yeah. I can agree with that. Like, I think songwriting process I think when it's done right, it's a very personal, very introspective, it's a very emotional thing, you know, and it's not like when you try to put it in a box, man, it's just like that. It's that human thing. It just goes away. Like you start writing about things that you don't really know what you're writing about. And there's actually, on this record, there are songs like that. I'm not going to bullshit you. Like some of these songs I wrote a long time ago, but I wrote them with guys who had lived through things that I hadn't yet. And, I nurtured their process a little bit more than they nurtured mine. You know, I kind of went along with it and I'd give them my 2 cents and whatnot. But I don't think there's a wrong way to write a song. I think there is. The wrong way to do it is when you do it to make money. Mm-hmm. And when that's the only reason, when you're writing songs with that in mind, like, okay, I got to write a hit song today. It's like, stop doing it. That's not songwriting. That's manufacturing. That's an assembly line. Like, let it be real, you know, like, I just don't picture Willie Nelson sitting around going, now what kind of song do I need to write so that people will buy Willie Nelson? Because that's just not how he thinks. He writes Willie Nelson songs.
Yeah.
Music's such a weird thing, man, because it is commercial and it's this thing where you pour your heart out and it goes on the paper and then it goes on tape and then people buy it. Everybody makes money and everybody gets this joy out of it. But it is, man, it's a craft. It's an art form, you know. It's I don't know. You're the one that said I could ramble, so.
I wanted to talk to y'all one more time about Hot Damn Coffee out of Eastern Tennessee. The morning comes at you hard, and there's only one thing that can charge you up for the day. That's coffee. Sure, you could fill up with whatever you can find on the bottom shelf at your local giant box store, but do you know what works better? Hot Damn Coffee. Why? Because they're single origin and high quality. They're a down-home company passionate about great cups of coffee, and of course, they love great music too, which is why we've partnered up here on New Slang. Go visit hotdamn.coffee and order yourself some robust, smooth, and high-quality coffee grounds and beans. Join their subscription club. As a New Slang listener, put slang in all caps in the coupon code box at checkout for 20% off your order. You'll be saving some cash, getting some of the finest coffee around, and helping support New Slang, the music podcast that you know and love. Again, that's hotdamn.coffee. All right, let's get back to the interview.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think like what's funny is like, I don't know, like sometimes I get the image of whenever I hear something on the radio that I just go like, what is this? Sometimes I like envision they got like the Mad Libs out there and they're just like plugging in, well, we need X amount of, these buzzwords and then these buzzwords and
yeah, it's like crank the cliche machine. Yeah, it's like on the cliche thing. There's a time and a place for that. I mean, the cliches for a reason. Like everybody understands them, but yeah, and I think that's a lot of that has to do with like the genre. Like I'm not a complete music snob. Like I was just driving down the road a minute. I went to pick my daughters up, and we were listening to The Weeknd. Have you heard The Weeknd? Have you heard this guy?
Yeah. I am familiar with The Weeknd.
He's awesome. I love it.
I'm actually a big fan too. So
huge fan, man. I'm blinded by the light every time I get a chance. So, I'm driving down the road. I was at Cody's 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I played it for him, and Cody listened to it, and he goes, this doesn't piss me off. And I said, you know why? I said, because it's a pop record, and it's written and produced by pop guys who know what they're doing, who are taking the time to make well-crafted pop records. It's good. But like, if you were doing the same, like that's pop music. Like that's, you're not going to listen to The Weeknd if you want to hear a song about a guy crying in a beer and a honky-tonk. Like that's country music. That's what we do in country music. So like, I think that when you're like a great pop song can be a great pop song. Like but then you go, well, there's a lot of great pop songs on country radio. And that's like where the problem starts up. It's like, oh, okay, this isn't really, it's good, but it's not good for what it's supposed to be, I guess is what I'm getting to.
No, I 100% agree, because I think it's weird whenever you say, oh, I love all kinds of music, because I think like most people do love all kinds of music. They can appreciate all kinds of music. But yeah, it is where I guess have a problem with it is that mislabeling or like being force fed that as being told that this is authentic, quote unquote, authentic country music, when it clearly isn't. But I mean, we don't have to focus on all of this right here, because I mean, I feel like it's I want to talk more about like some of the songs on this record with you.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think like people listen to, or hopefully they listen to my podcast to talk, because of the conversations on songs. I don't know. I wanted to talk to you about the title track that you wrote with Cody and Tennessee Jet. And I guess like where did that like initially stem from? Where did that idea first pop up?
All right, so this is going to be disappointing, but I'll tell you anyway. So I'm in, I think it was in Little Rock, Arkansas, late last year. Me and TJ, Tennessee Jet, were standing backstage. We had opened the show for Cody, and Cody was on stage playing, and we're back there just chit-chatting. And Cody's he's a little superstitious. He's not too bad, but he is a little. But I said to TJ, I said, "Hey man, how funny would it be if like a black cat ran right across the stage in front of Cody right now, like all the way across, just ran across?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, it'd be pretty funny." And we giggled. He said, "Man," he said, "I always thought that black cats got kind of a bad rap, you know?" And I was like, "Yeah, and crows too, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, crows." And he said, "Oh man, that might be a song, Black Cats and Crows." And we noodled around with it backstage for a few minutes, and we texted. didn't really come up with much, just a few like conceptual thoughts on it. And a couple months later, I was out at Cody's, and it was late. His kids were in bed as me and him and his wife were sitting up. I think he was drinking beer, and me and Rebecca were drinking whiskey. And we just started noodling on it, you know, and me and Cody sat there and just, you know, got drunk and wrote this song. And poor Rebecca sat there and watched us and listened and like made mental notes so that we wouldn't forget what we were saying. But you know, we wrote it on guitars. Next day, Cody's got a big grand piano in his living room, and next morning I got up and started playing it on piano, and we sent it to our manager, and then it just kind of became a fight over who was going to get to record it first, and I came out victorious. So, but yeah, we just it was a thing, man. He and I have such a weird our parallels are so funny. Like last year we weren't like mad at each other, and there wasn't anything going on between us, but we were both separately just kind of going through some stuff on our own that we hadn't really talked to each other about. And then after we both pretty much came out of it at the same time, and then we talked to each other about it, and then we, like, you know, kind of laughed about it. Not really laughed, but like I was going through this awful situation with my ex-wife and my divorce and with custody, and Cody was in this spot where he was, you know, dealing with some things that had to do with, you know, man, when I met Cody, he wasn't Cody Jinks. Now he's Cody fucking Jinks, man. He's famous, you know, and that's a lot of pressure on a human being, you know, one day you can go to the grocery store and the next you can't. Like it's hard. And it put his head in a spot, and my head was in a spot. Then we came together and had all this darkness from the residual darkness from the year before, and we just dumped it out on paper, and like cats and crows.
Yeah. It's I find I guess like the stardom thing, like with a lot of people, I guess it's so interesting because, you know, for all intents and purposes, like there's a part of you that wants the critical acclaim, the fandom, right? But then like, yeah, it's also like, man, I do have some empathy for, especially like lead singers who, you know, I guess like what I'm going to is, you know, I've heard some people comment like, you know, that if you're a band or something like that, you're only working 90 minutes a night or something like that. And it's like, no, dude, like you're not Cody Jinks for 90 minutes. You're actually Cody Jinks 24/7 every time you walk out of your house, because like you have to be that person, because if someone comes up and is a fan, you know, you don't want to be an asshole.
I mean, you want to be an asshole, but you can't be an asshole.
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. Yeah.
Well, and it's, you know, I think you know, when you move to Nashville, and dude, and I mean, I was reared to think that there's one way to do it. There's one way to make it in music. The only way: you move to Nashville, you get a publishing deal, then you get a production deal, then you get a record deal, then you put a record out, and then you know, cross fingers, and basically you put all of your faith in these other people. Like you put all your talents, you know, you sign these ridiculous record deals and all this bullshit, and they put you out and they send you to radio stations, and you have to kiss everybody's ass, and you have to do what they tell you, and you have to sell just enough of your soul that there's enough of it left so that you can keep going. But man, when you're, you know, like I turned 41 years old last week, like I'm not going to, you know, my days of going and getting a record deal downtown and being Kenny Chesney are over. Like that's not going to happen for me. So the way that we've had to do it has been, it's grunt. It's like grunt work. Like we've had to, and Cody would tell you the same thing, man. You load up you get in a van and you don't even know that it's going to be running when you get to the gig. Like you're going broke all the time. You're losing money on shows. You're building it slowly, so very slowly that you can't even see the difference when you you go to a town and you play a show and there's 15 people there, and then you go back 6 months later and there's 20 people there, and then 6 months later there's 40. The growth is so slow and it's so small because you're having to do it all on your own, that like fame and success is like something that you don't even, you can't really prepare for, because you don't know if it's ever going to come. And then when it does come, it's like, how do you even deal with it? Because you're basically a blue collar worker, going to work every day. And then one day you wake up and it's like, oh gosh, oh, well, now I've got 15 people that are going to do the work for me. But also now they're all depending on me to make money so that I can keep them employed. And it's a hard, like, I've not had to taste as much of it as Cody and dude, a lot of other friends of mine that I've got a lot of famous friends, I guess, but most of them went through the Nashville, turnpike, and they were prepared, they were reared, they were taught, but man, like Cody, like this guy's just been running around beating the highway down for 20 years. Like to wake up one day and you're famous, it changes everything. It changes your whole life. Like, you're not to say that he wasn't ready for it and that he hadn't handled it with just absolute grace and professionalism, but it messes with your mind, man. It's hard. I can't wait. I want to be so rich and famous that I have way more problems than I do now.
Yeah, well, it's both, like, it's not an overnight success by any stretch, but then also, like, one day you can wake up and it is it's totally different. That's one of those things where, as a journalist, as somebody who's been, adjacent to a lot of all of this, of the music scene, I think it opens your eyes to realize, when the person who is just listening to the radio calls someone a sellout, that they don't know what they're talking about, because like it all goes to, you're talking about like that pressure of all of a sudden, like there's so many more livelihoods tied to you that I mean, I guess, like, I think that is such a loaded term for anyone. And this is obviously not even saying remotely that Cody's a sellout or nothing like that. But I guess, like, that goes back to this empathy of like, man, no one really is a sellout, It's all like tied to, especially when, like you said, like when there's all these people's livelihoods are tied to you. That's real pressure.
Man, I see, like, and I see it too, like, Cody used to do he used to do meet and greets. And I mean, every now and then he'll pop out of his bus and he'll go shake some hands. And, of course not lately, because nobody can, but, you get on Facebook and like, oh man, Cody used to come out and shake his fans' hands and he used to really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm always like, dude, there's 5,000. He can't come shake 5,000 hands. Like, come on. Like, what do you mean he's changed? He can't. Like, people don't see the whole side of it. They just see that one little speck of what they think it ought to be and what it should be. And it's not always like that. We're getting off on all kinds of tangents here, by the way. This is great.
No, it's a loose conversation. But
he sat me down, dude, and I'm not. We can talk about the record, but I was at his house here a few weeks ago, and it was late. We sat up drinking, and he said, "Ward," he's like, "Man," he's like, "This record, it's a good chance it might change your life." And he said, "Are you ready for that?" And I was like, "Fuck, man, I don't know. Were you?" And he was like, "Yeah, kinda." He's like, "Don't." Just don't let it fuck with you too bad, man. Like, it's just you're doing your thing, you're doing it right. It's a good record. Just roll with it, man. It'll all just, but be ready, because it could change. And I'm like, well, do what you can. So, but with that being said, man, that guy, I've always been really, really proud of how he's handled all this, and he's always been really generous to me about writing and just being a really good friend. He got me out of jail one time, so it's he's a good friend, a good guy. So
that's always like a key to a real friend right there.
Oh, he beat me to the jail.
Yeah.
I got popped for some weed in Kansas here about 3 years ago, and after he cussed out the cops that arrested me, he walked to the courthouse and bailed me out before they could even I think I was in there 10 minutes, but it was pretty funny. He beat me to jail.
Well, that's good. Like I said, that's a sign of a true friend right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, obviously you mentioned how like the way Black Cats and Crows was written in a very loose and organic kind of setting. Late night, hanging out, just kind of not necessarily spur of the moment, but in a lot of ways like that. How often does it go that route? That where it is very just like there's not really a lot of pressure to write something, but something ends up being born in that moment.
Yeah, man. I'd say these days more often than not. When you sit down and man, I think I've written 3 songs this year, maybe 4 if I'm counting the one I started last night. But when you start trying to push something out, man, it's like I'm sorry to be crude, but it's like a fart, man. If you push too hard, you're gonna shit your pants. Like that's just it. And man, being in a room with somebody that I don't have. There's a lot in my life that I've done that I'm ashamed of. There's a lot in my life that I've done that I'm very proud of. I can sit in a room with my friend and with Cody, and I can talk about any of it with the same amount of, there's with the same amount of openness. Like this guy, he doesn't judge me. And those are the people that I work with, like my friend Greg Jones, same way. I mean, we'll sit down to write a song. We don't always write a song. Sometimes we just, smoke some pot and hang out and have a good conversation. But when you're in a room with somebody you're that comfortable enough to be yourself and to let them see under your skin, like that's you're more open, you're more honest, you're more apt to let things out that you wouldn't. And those are those moments when you're sharing like a human conversation and a human thought, and you get them on the same wavelength you're on, or vice versa. That's the best time to write songs. That going down to Nashville and having a 10:30 co-write and then a 2:30 co-write and then going to work at Applebee's. You're not really writing from your soul. It's just that I'm not a big appointment writer, I guess is what I'm getting to. I'd rather sit down with somebody I enjoy working with and see if something happens, because I'm not gonna you go back to that night that we wrote Black Cats and Crows, man. If Cody wasn't in that mindset, we wouldn't have written that song straight up. We wouldn't have been able to, but he was there and I was there and it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like it feels like if you have appointments again, like some people can thrive with that kind of structure, but I at least for me, I would think that like it would be easy for me to begin like cutting corners or like settling for stuff versus actually like going down the road of finding what the song really needs.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 33.
33. Yeah. You're no pup. Dude, like I absolutely understand what you're saying. And I have done that 1,000 times. Like, I mean, probably more, just where you just want to get it done and get out of the room. But man, I got a little older. I've had enough people walk up to me and tell me what one of my songs meant to them or what changed in their lives because of that song or whatever. You got to take it seriously. Like you're fucking with people's hearts. Like you're speaking in a very unique way to as many people as you can at once, man. And like phoning it in, like you just can't. Like it has to be like the gut wrenchingest thing in the world to write a song. Like you really have to dig into yourself because I mean, if you don't, it means nothing. It means nothing to me. It means nothing to you. Like that's just how it's going to work. So, it would be like back in the day, dude, when I would go down to Nashville and I do 2 co-writes a day usually. At least I was always at least 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. But man, you're trying to whip in there. You come in with a song hook, hey, I got this great idea for a song. Let's write it about the same fucking thing that everybody else is writing songs about today within, a mile of where we're sitting. And that's what you do. And there's just no soul in it. There's no, I'm not going to go down a list of songs that I think are awful, but you can listen to a song and know that it's somebody wrote it about themselves, or they wrote it about somebody they know, or they wrote it because they were going through something, as opposed to, cruise.
Yeah.
They're okay, yeah, that's catchy, it sounds good, but man, there's no heart in that. There's nothing. You don't have to go through anything to write that. It's just candy. It's ear candy. It's good. It's fun. But man, as a songwriter, like I take it way more seriously than that.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I always, I guess, like, okay, I'll backtrack a little bit. Like, I'm a big fan of like 90s country, and I love like everything from really like the mid 90s to before that. And
Yeah, same.
I think like one of the big things that I guess I noticed earlier this year was that some point during the late 90s, 2000s, like a lot of songs like stopped being about like adults. And
Sorry.
yeah,
Hey, hold on one second. Sorry, I've got them doing Legos. That's the best I could do to keep them occupied. But yeah, anyway,
yeah,
90s,
like
it stopped being. Say
like,
it again.
Songs stopped being like catered towards adults and like adult situations.
Yeah, grown-up music.
Yeah.
Like no kidding, man. When I was a kid, my dad used to get so tickled at me because I didn't know what firm feeling women was. Guitars tuned good and firm feeling women. So I would say firm feeted women. I was a little kid. I didn't know, but there's something to be said about that. That was a grown up way of saying something that little kids didn't understand. And now it's just like, oh, we got to make it so the kids understand. Mm-hmm. And I'll go a step further. My mother is a retired English teacher. And it burns my ass that, like, even when I use bad grammar, it's for a very articulate, it's for alliteration or for whatever purpose. But man, it's like the English language has gone to shit in commercial country music in the last few years. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's just not. It's like everything is dumbed down so far. It's like so a baby can understand it. It's like, no, that's not. Country music was here for like real people with real problems, and what happened? Like this was the outlet for those people, and it's not there anymore.
This episode is in part brought to you by the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, Texas. There is a way to help A, support Blue Light, and B, get a sense of that normalcy by visiting bluelightlubbock.com, clicking on the merch tab, and getting some koozies, a vast array of t-shirts and caps, and yes, even a Blue Light flag. While it is such a bummer that live music is still on hold right now, I'm telling you, by getting some Blue Light Live merch, you're going to feel better. It just feels better wearing a t-shirt and ball cap and helping support your favorite bar. Again, that's bluelightlubbock.com. Click on the merch tab, get some merch. All right, back to the episode. Yeah, like a lot of these songs, right? They're about adult situations. They're about like coming to terms with becoming an adult or heartache, like, and I mean like real heartache, not necessarily like my girlfriend of the month has like left me and I'm, I have a failing grade in, science or something. You know what I mean? Like it's real stuff, or like about being yeah. Go ahead.
No, well, one of my favorite songs of all time. Song called Rake and Ramblin' Man. It's a Don Williams song that Bob McDill wrote. Man, this is a song about a guy who had a one night stand and knocked this girl up. And this is a song about him, like, finding a job, calming down. He wasn't ready for this. I know I'm a rake. I'm a raking, rambling man, free as the eagle flies. Look at me now and tell me the truth. Do I look like a daddy to you? Like, this guy's going through like the hardest thing he's ever faced in his life. He's about to have a child that he wasn't ready for with some girl that was just a one night stand, but he's getting a job and he's realizing that he's got to take care of business. Man, can you imagine hearing a song about that on commercial country radio right now? Like, it wouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And like that, those stories, those human stories, they've been forgotten. The whole genre, the whole format has forgotten that these songs, that this is the place for the real, and it's just not real anymore. Like, it's a fantasy. Like, how much Fireball can we actually drink?
Yeah. Too much probably, but still, yeah, it's yeah, no, I think it again, like I guess like songs on the radio used to be about divorce and about like, being a stepdad or like being,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like just of like early Toby Keith stuff, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
all of that was about like real life situations that we're seeing.
Yeah.
One of the things that also I feel like this ties into with what you're doing on this record that is kind of it's been lost in a lot of country music, and that's obviously like you're a piano player. That's part of your repertoire as part part of like the repertoire that you have as a musician. You're not necessarily just geared towards writing guitar based songs. What I guess like for starters, like what drew you to piano, and what I guess like drives you towards like writing a song on a piano versus on guitar, or like at least recording wise?
Well, man, most of I generally write on guitar. Like 90% of the time, I'm on the guitar. I started playing piano when I was 7 years old. My parents put me in piano lessons. I got kicked out when I was 10 or 11 because I wouldn't read the music. I was just playing by ear. And I came into, piano class one day and had my little, you remember those little tape recorders, little flat things, little flat tape recorders with one speaker on them. Anyway,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I took my little tape recorder to my piano class and I played a Garth Brooks song for my teacher called Wolves. It was on the No Fences record.
Oh, I'm familiar. Yeah.
And I'd learned,
song.
of course, it's a guitar song on the record, but I learned how to play the note for note. I playing it on piano for her. And after I got done, she told me to call my mom. She's like, call your mom. She's like, I can't teach you anything. And I was like, no. She's like, no. She's like, I can't play by ear. She said, you can't read music. So what are we doing? So I started learning how to play the stuff that I wanted to play. And it was all, country music. Dad was really cool about, like, he paid me $20 to learn a song. He paid me $20 to learn Chariots of Fire one time, the theme song to Chariots of Fire. But I started when I was about 14. I entered the Drew County Fair talent show and played piano and sang. And it was the first time I'd always played piano every year, and I'd always won. But this year I decided I was going to sing too. And so I played piano and sang. And there was this kid named Kent Early who played guitar and sang, and he beat me. And so that night I went home and started learning how to play guitar because I wasn't going to be beaten. And so the next year I played, I think I played On the Other Hand, a Randy Travis song, at the county fair the next year and won. But as far as like writing, man, I kind of hear melodies, and I don't necessarily hear an instrument on it. I just kind of work through most of it in my head. But what I did get from the piano and what little bit I did learn was a little bit of the theory and the movements, and I can hear in my head like if I'm going from one chord to another without having to actually hear myself play it. So a lot of times, like even with Black Cats and Crows, like we wrote that on guitars, and then I took it in the other room and put it to piano. So I don't know if it's like I think it's an afterthought. Like after I'm done with the song, I go, "Oh, hey, that's a piano song. That's not a guitar song." And that's just kind of how I go about it when I record them.
Yeah, that's
But
interesting. Yeah.
but a lot of times I don't know. That's why I got a producer. I got a really great producer who points these things out to me sometimes that I don't know.
Yeah, because I didn't know if like maybe it was one of those things where I've seen a lot of some other songwriters who if they know a few instruments, if they get like stuck on a song, they'll try
Yeah.
and like jump on the other instrument to see if it, I guess, like if you're able to look at it from another perspective or another way, if it is like maybe the key that opens the door or something.
Yeah, I mean, so, stuff like that does help. Just to get the vibe, uh, and man, just moving around. Who knows what's going to spark your brain or send it in another direction? It's like, I get on online all the time and look for guitars that I really, really, really need because I feel like a different guitar will bring out a different feel, a different melody, a different whatever. But it's, I don't know if there's any good way to gauge it or to even be able to tell. I think it's just something that kind of happens or doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know. It's all so. It's one of those things where we have these conversations about it all, but like also at the end of the day, like none of us really know where it comes from,
Yeah,
or how
yeah.
it gets there.
I like to think that it's, yeah, I think what I do is it's a talent, but it's also a skill. Like uh, I've, I think growing up and when I was a kid, like obviously I figured out pretty quick that I had a talent for music. Like I was able to understood it more or better than most of the kids my age and around me. But also, man, like you gotta think I've written thousands of songs, and thousands of them are terrible. Like I had to really learn how to think like a songwriter. Like uh, sometimes it has to do with when I'm playing the piano, like I'll move my hands in a direction and it'll make me think something. It'll change the melody in such a way that's just different enough and stuff like that. But I had to learn, like really learn how to write songs, and but I learned how to do that by having great songwriters around me all the time, and B, just I love great songs like we were talking about earlier, just like songs about life, and you study them and you listen to them and you go, oh well, I see why that's easy to sing. It's because they did this and this and this. So there is a little calculation to it, so it's not all just inspired, but it's a lot inspired and a lot, critical thinking.
Yeah, yeah. I'll to apply that for myself as far as like being a journalist. A lot of young writers will ask me, like how do you what are some things I need to do to become a better journalist, kind of stuff. And I always tell them like you need to just start writing because you even if you're not publishing it, if you just have like a WordPress or something to write, because it takes those hours, and you're
Hmm.
gonna write. The simple fact is like you're gonna write some awful stuff, some stuff that you're not even you hopefully you don't ever publish or anything like that. But what it is like you want to get to the point where your skills are good enough to once you do have something to write, that you're able to apply it and you're able to get it
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
No, totally, man. That's how it is. Like, And therein lies like what I was talking about earlier too. It's like that responsibility to get it right. Once you start down a path with a song and you go, oh man, this is not going to be one of my terrible songs. Like and it's probably the same with what you do. Like, oh shit, this is really coming together. That's when you buckle down and you're like, all right, now I have to make this as the best that I possibly can, because and at the end of the day, you don't really know if it's going to be a huge piece of shit or not, but you do your best. Like, you do your best, and once you get it to where it's the best, and shit stinks, cream rises, or shit sinks, cream rises.
Yeah.
So that's what but you got to keep going. You got to make every one of them the best that you can. Even the bad ones, you just accept them when they're bad sometimes.
Yeah. What kind of writer are you? Are you like a legal pad, a pen and paper? What
Pen and paper, legal pad.
What
I don't
is,
like.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I went through a period where I used a iPad. I was writing on an iPad all the time, and during that period, I wrote a song called "Unfair Weather Friend" that Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard ended up recording.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kicked myself in the ass 10,000 times because I don't have a piece of paper. I did not have a piece of paper with me the day that I wrote that, and I would have loved to have had that piece of paper to stick in a folder for my kids to find 30 years from now, but I don't. So after that, I went right back to paper. So
yeah, I mean, that's obviously so much of stuff is online these days, but whenever I'm stuck on something, I always go to like a pen and paper, because I think like there's something physical about it too. And I was actually going to bring up that song Unfair Weather Friend. What was like how did the news get broke to you? I guess that Willie and Merle were going to be putting that on that Django and Jimmy record.
There's a story to this song. I wrote it with my friend Marla Cannon. Marla she's a great hit songwriter. She wrote one of my favorite country songs ever. It's called "The Fool." It's a Lee Ann Womack song.
Oh yeah.
She wrote that, and she wrote like 10 rounds with Jose Cuervo. If you've ever heard that, she's had a really good career. Wrote a lot of hit songs. But anyway, she and I I'm friends with her and her family. Her dad is Willie Nelson's producer. His name is Buddy Cannon. So I'm riding with Marla one day, and she says, "Hey, listen, so Daddy's producing this new Willie record, and it's going to be all duets with girls, with female artists, and it's going to be called To All the Girls I've Loved Before." And he's doing a duet with they need one for him and Sheryl Crow. That's what she said. And I said, okay. And I said, well, she said, it was a beautiful autumn day. We were sitting out on her patio, and leaves were blowing around. And she said, we should write a song called Fair Weather Friends. And I was like, oh, no, I'm contrary. I was like, oh, let's write one called Unfair Weather Friends. And so we wrote it. We wrote it for Willie and Sheryl Crow. So she sent it to her dad, who at that particular day, he was in the studio with Kenny Chesney. He's Kenny Chesney's producer as well. So he plays it for Kenny, and Kenny loves it. And Kenny says, hey, I want to put this on my next record. We've already got everything sealed up for this one, but I'd love to put it on my next one if you guys wouldn't mind holding it for me. And of course, me and Marla, we're dancing, we're excited. Like, shit, yeah, Kenny Chesney, man, that's money. We want some money. And so we're really excited. Well, yada, yada, yada. Time goes on. Kenny changes his mind, doesn't record it. By the time he doesn't record it, then Willie's already done his duet with Sheryl Crow, and we're just shit out of luck. So that was probably about 3 or 4 years later. I heard just in the rumor mill that Willie and Merle were going back in the studio. And so I called Marla, and I was like, hey, we ought to take another run at your dad with this song. We know he loves it. So, maybe Willie will like it. And then if Willie likes it, maybe Merle will like it. And if Merle likes it, who knows? So she sent it to him, and he sent it to Willie, and Willie loved it. And I think they went down to Austin. They flew down to Austin, the band and everybody, on actually on my birthday, on my 35th birthday. So November 9th, of what? Geez, I just turned 41. I don't know what year it was. 2014. They fly down and they're cutting on the 10th. So I knew that Willie liked it. I didn't know anything. I hadn't heard from Merle or anything about what he thought of it. So I spent that day just trying to stay busy, cleaning house, just piddling in the yard, doing whatever I could. And normally, they book sessions at 10 a.m., then it's 2, and then it's 6. And I figured Willie was probably going to do a 10 and a 2, and then they weren't going to do anything after that. So probably about 5:30 that afternoon, I hadn't really heard anything. And so I was just like, well, they're recording tomorrow, so maybe they'll record it tomorrow. And so I went back to piddling around, and then I went and looked at my phone, and I had 3 texts. My friend Shannon, I don't know what her last name is right now. She just got remarried, but she's Buddy's assistant. Her name was Shannon Finnegan, but she texted me, and she said, Ward, they are charting your song. And then the second one said, Ward, they are tracking your song. And then the third one was a video, and she was sitting on the couch in the control room, and you could hear Willie coming through the speakers. He was putting his vocal on it, and I could hear Willie Nelson singing my song. And I just cried for, like 3 days. I cried, and then I called my buddies back home and told them that I finally made it. And long story short, man, that song, it happened. It's still really weird to even imagine it. Like I can't. I mean, Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard recorded a song that I wrote. Like I can't. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, like to me, like it's one of those things where, insert like basically even like the biggest of stars, cut my song or cut a song I wrote. Mm-hmm. That obviously means something, but Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard, that it's way more surreal. It has to be way more surreal of a situation of going like, holy shit,
Well, you can't. Yeah, I mean, like you can't set that goal. Like who in their right mind would be like, you know what? I'm gonna get Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard. That by God, that's what. No, you're not. Nobody can do that. You can't. If you set that goal, you're going to get disappointed. So it never even crossed. I mean, up until the moment I got that text, I was like, this is not like, come on, Ward. There's no way. Like, this just, no. But sure shit happened.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
It changed my life. And the one thing I did do is when that happened, I kind of took it as a sign that maybe Nashville wasn't going to be good to me, and then I needed to, realize that the kind of writing that I did and the kind of songs that I wrote were going to appeal to people that weren't, 25-year-old A&R reps at Warner Brothers. And I knew that having that would give me a little bit of credibility. It would open some doors for me, and man, I used it as much as I could just to, as opposed to sitting down and saying, well, I did it, finally got something and now I'm good. I was like, no, you need to use this as a launching pad to do what you want to do. And so that's what I did. It opened up just every single door since then. I can't even tell you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, I mean, again, it'd probably be easy to just, sit back and go, oh, okay, well, this is the top of the mountain. But yeah, using it as a launch pad, using it as a place to get further along. That's the key to it all.
Yeah. And because of that, like I always heard that Willie Nelson will sing on your record if you ask him. And I was like, well, shit, here's my chance to ask him, if he'll, if I can get him to come sing on my record, it can't hurt. So I asked him and he said, sure. So, that song it gave me so much. It's weird to think about.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's, Yeah, and I really love this new record that you're putting out. I think I think this year's been such a weird year, and it's been one of those things where it's been, if there's a silver lining in it, there's been a lot of great music that's been coming out. And
yeah, man, that's it's you find out who your fans are. I'll tell you that much, man. I've everything's shut down for us. Middle of March,
mm-hmm.
and we pretty much a lot of people had to just throw their hands in the air. But man, I got a really great management team. I got really smart guys who know more about this than me, and they said, okay, we're gonna have to let's double hustle now. We got to get this record ready, and so they pushed me and found ways to make money, found ways to keep our heads above water up until now, and now here we are, man. I'm 4 days away, and this thing's coming out. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I really love I love a lot of the mood and the tones of this record, and I think they just tie so well with a lot of the songwriting content. Again, going back to the dark residuals of the record, and yeah, it's been really great talking with you, and yeah, I don't know.
Well, same here, man. I appreciate you reaching out. Yeah, I'm ready for this thing to get out. I'm already looking at stuff for the next one.
Okay, that is it for this one. Be sure to check out Black Cats and Crows by Ward Davis, out tomorrow, November the 20th. Be sure to stop by our presenting partners over at Desert Door, Hot Damn Coffee, and the Blue Light Live. And yeah, I'll see y'all next week for more new slang.